At a time when the state of Ohio is increasing the difficulty of its academic content standards and probably converting its entire assessment system, tonight's focus is on academics, on instruction, and the actual preparation of your children, the students of this school district, for both college and career readiness. It's an essential continuation of discussions began over 10 years ago with the No Child Left Behind Act, to which Ohio has complied, and now it's time to move forward with increasingly challenging and rigorous curriculum and an assessment system that matches that. For our forum this evening, we are following the same format we did in the first community forum, and that is each of you should have been given index cards this evening when you came in. We have a number of presenters who are going to provide information for you. We would welcome you throughout the first hour this evening to write your questions down on those cards, and our student volunteers then will be coming through and picking up those cards so that we can address those questions in the second hour of our forum. We wanted to get started promptly at 7 in order to honor your time and have you out according to the schedule. First of all, let me introduce our guests who are with us this evening to provide information. We would ask for them to wave their hands as they are introduced. They are Dr. Michael Sawyers, Deputy Superintendent for the Ohio Department of Education; Mary Beth Freeman, Superintendent of the Delaware Area Career Center; Melissa Conrad, Special Assistant to the President for Audubon University; Rebecca Exton, Vice President for Enrollment, Ohio Wesleyan University; Angelo Foley, Dean of Academic Affairs at Columbus State Community College; and Karen Gregg, the Administrator of Academic Affairs at Columbus State Community College. As we begin this evening, it is indeed my pleasure to introduce a person who probably doesn't need an introduction for many of you. Please join me in welcoming the Superintendent of the Olentangy Local Schools, Dr. Wade Lee.
Thank you so much, Tom, and thank you to everyone for taking time out of their schedule to meet with us this evening. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce our board members in attendance this evening. And if you would, board members, please stand and hold your applause until I introduce all three. We have board member Julie Wagner-Fiesel. We have board member Stacy Dunbar. And we have our board president, Mr. Dave King. Please welcome these individuals. Now, as Tom has stated, we are very, we recognize your time. And as you know, I also like to get long-winded. So I'm not going to be up here very long. In fact, I believe it was 2 minutes, and I beg for 1 extra minute from Tom. I just want to say a couple of things about this evening. First of all, our objectives, as he stated, is to provide information in regard to college and career readiness. We also want to introduce you to the major players, and I think that's who you're going to hear from the message in just a second. And last but not least, we want to answer your questions. Just a little bit of a background about where we have been and why this evening is such a well-attended event. Approximately a year, maybe 2 years ago, Columbus State became a presence in this county, and obviously in this school district. And I think that was the beginning of this whole journey of what we call dual enrollment and this collaborative partnership that we're looking to move forward on. We also understand that we have high-achieving student populations. In fact, we have made the statement that between 75 and 90% of our sophomores are college ready, academic, not social. Because I think, as we all know, there's a big, big difference between being ready college from an academic standpoint and a social standpoint. So we decided, or we have decided in the past, that it's time to get together all the players and say, how can we provide you, our community, with a flexible opportunity that will make your son or daughter's academic experience better than it currently is. Now, granted, right now, it's fantastic. We want to make it even better. Now, our goal here, and we've stated this many times, is when our kids graduate from Olentangy schools, we want to be able to provide them with at least 1 year of some type of college credit, whether it's AP coursework, whether it's college coursework. It doesn't matter. We know they have to be making progress toward a college career or some type of a career in the trade. So I don't care if we're talking about a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, or a trade. So what we're going to talk about and continue to talk about is how can we partner with both Columbus State and their partners. How can we look at our staff members and use their expertise in regard to the instructional piece? And how can we start reaching our younger kids, specifically right now our juniors, so that we can have more discussion and move forward with this initiative. So with that said and done, again, I want to thank you very much for being here. I think the key word for this evening is flexibility. You should have a lot of questions. We're going to try to provide you with the answers, but the key word is flexibility as we move throughout this discussion. So with that said and done, it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Sawyer from the Ohio Department of Education. Michael?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to come this evening. We appreciate the invitation from the Olentangy School District to come and share with you some current reform information related to the Ohio Department of Education and how it impacts the 1.86 million students that attend public schools throughout our great state. This evening, I'm going to start basically with the theme and a picture of this young lady to frame the conversation of a vision in the state of Ohio that you're going to begin to hear more and more and more about through the public sector related to Start Ready, Graduate Ready. And the reality is 2014-15 is coming in the state of Ohio, and I'm going to explain to you what that means for 1.86 million children on a daily basis related to how education reform will change throughout the state of Ohio in 2014 and 15, and more importantly, what should be happening now to prepare students for the reality of what we will expect. I'd like to begin with the backdrop and talk a little bit about your school district, because it is a high-performing school district based upon the current reality within our accountability system within the state. For 8 consecutive years, your school district has been rated excellent with distinction, the highest possible rating on the local report card that's presently available within the state of Ohio. All of your schools within your school district are rated excellent or above, again, at the top of the requirements that for student performance to achieve such ratings within the state. And lastly, your students who are participating in grades 4 through 8, which is everyone in grades 4 through 8, reading and mathematics have to meet specific growth measures on an annual basis to demonstrate that from when they enter the school on the first day of the school year to when they leave on the last day of the school year, they've demonstrated at least 1 year's worth of growth, specifically in English language arts and mathematics in grades 4 through 8. We call that value added, specifically for students in grades 4 through 8. Your school district is exceeding that requirement on an annual basis based upon current performance, based upon the work that teachers, administrators, parents, and students do on a daily basis. And your school district demonstrates the culture that needs to exist in all school districts throughout the state of Ohio. It is a commitment by all parties, not just the school district, not classroom teachers. It involves parents, guardians, grandmas, grandpas, aunts and uncles, and kids on a daily basis coming to school with a vision that they're here to learn. Ohio. As a whole, I'm going to talk about 3 specific components. The first is the Quality Counts ranking. For your information, in case you are not aware of it, on an annual basis, Education Week does a Quality Counts review of all the states within the nation. Ohio currently ranks 10th out of all states in the nation related to education. So there are 9 other systems ahead of us, and we strive to become number 1 and our vision for 2014-15 that I will explain to you will help us close the gap and hopefully take us to number one throughout the state and ultimately the nation. Race to the top. Many of you might be aware of a federal reform effort that's in place through Washington, D.C. that permitted the Ohio Department of Education to apply for specific funding for federal reform to prepare us for 2014 and 15. Ohio is one of 10 states and Washington, D.C. that was fortunate enough to receive funding out of the grant competition to provide resources to the state of Ohio to build the systems necessary to transition us in 2014 and 15. In addition to that, Ohio, based upon our credibility and the work that's been done to date in Race to the Top, also earned the right to have the #1 application for an early learning challenge grant. The focus is on preschool education and starting to change the reality of what needs to happen for students to come to school ready. And many parents in the room might remember, particularly if you have elementary age children, what used to be second grade several years ago is now the reality of coming to kindergarten. The curriculum has changed dramatically and will continue to change as we look forward to 2014 and 2015. Lastly, as a point of fact, and you're going to hear me explain why this is a potential celebration, but at the same time an issue, 352 of the 614 public school districts in the state of Ohio are presently ranked excellent or excellent with distinction. And you're going to hear ultimately that although that can be a celebration, it's a celebration of minimal competency. And thus I'm going to try to share with you the vision for what that means for the state of Ohio. I'd like to begin by taking a closer look. I want to talk about the current reality of our present system. Although there's 352 school districts rated excellent or excellent with distinction, you need to understand what that really means. It's based upon a system of minimal competency. Back in the 1980s, the current accountability system was put in place within the state of Ohio to measure student achievement based upon 8th, 9th, and 10th grade curriculum. The expectations in the 1980s have not been updated in the state of Ohio. We still have minimal competency standards that are required to be changed as we look forward to 2014-2015. So although we have very high levels of achievement, there are high levels of achievement based upon minimal competency. I'm going to share with you some specific examples of what that means in our current context throughout Ohio. Before doing so, I want you to think about the evolution of technology. Remember when cell phones first came out? They used to be extremely large. Some of you might even remember when they were a bag and you carried them around on your shoulder. That dates some people in the room, but they did exist. Cell phones today, through the evolution of technology, have gotten smaller, smaller, and smaller. The one on the screen actually permits you to have access to the internet, which is typical. 70% of our students aged 14 and above in the state of Ohio own some type of a smartphone device. The current one on the screen permits you to have access to 16,000 apps on a daily basis if you so choose. That's the evolution of technology. The question becomes, has the same evolution existed or occurred within our current construct of education in the state? And unfortunately, I have to tell you, it has not. We have been outpaced ultimately through technology in reality to what it means within education. Let's understand why. Many of you are aware of the current assessment system that exists in the state of Ohio. We have the Ohio Achievement Assessment and we have the Ohio Graduation Test. We administer tests to students in grades 3 through 8 and a 10th grade OGT, the Ohio Graduation Test, is a requirement for graduation. However, most of you in this room probably are not aware that the current standard to get proficient is 37% correct. You need, on average, 16 out of 45 questions on each exam to be labeled proficient within the state. That's the minimum bar. The other problem with the current assessment system that exists in the state of Ohio is the metric is 75%, which basically means 1 out of 4 children within a school district are permitted to fail, and the school district still receives credit. That's the system that was put in place in Ohio over a decade ago. It has not been updated. It's time to face the reality that this is no longer acceptable because the message it basically gives. I use the OTC at the high school as an example. 2 out of 3 high school sophomores as Dr. Lucas mentioned specifically here in Olentangy, demonstrate, quote unquote, proficiency on the first attempt on the OCT. They passed all 5 required sections the first time they sit for the exam in the sophomore year in the spring. What does that message tell the kids? I've mastered the content necessary to be proficient at the high school level in my 5 content areas. In reality, that may not be true because of this metric. They may be proficient. The question becomes, are they scoring at the accelerated level or the advanced level, the highest levels possible, which demonstrate a different level of rigor. We have antiquated measures and are not keeping up with the world needs ultimately for our kids. Think historically. Back in 1973, only 1/4 of the jobs in Ohio required a college education. And again, college education can be defined as an associate's degree or a baccalaureate degree, 2 or 4 years of higher education. In 2018, we currently project that 2/3 of the jobs will require post-secondary education after high school, although not necessarily, again, traditional 4-year college track. It may very well be 1 year of higher learning, 2 years of higher learning resulting in a baccalaureate or an associate's degree, or 4 years or post 4 years for the master's degree. If our students go on to college, we have to ensure that they arrive prepared. The other statistic that we do not commonly put above the fold on the newspaper, but it's coming out because we're now blanketly telling the story throughout the state of Ohio, is that the class of 2010 and our current minimal competency system has a 41% remediation rate for higher education. Although they graduate from high school in the current minimal competency system, they're not successful in the current environment of going on to a 2-year or 4-year institution or entering into the workforce with the skills necessary to succeed without some form of on-the-job training or for further remediation in the collegiate world. This is not acceptable. The reality is the skill sets our students need now to get and keep good jobs are the skills that cannot be digitized, automated, or outsourced. In the last decade, 800,000 jobs have been outsourced in the state of Ohio based upon the reality of automation and digitization. Because of this, we're now teaching our students minimal competency standards and that are nowhere near adequate for what has to prepare them for the reality of where they need to go. Workforce within the state of Ohio commonly tells us the skills to distinguish the workers are creativity, innovation, problem solving, and collaboration. We currently do not have assessments within the state of Ohio that measure these for students. We don't currently report this information to you on your local report card to tell you how the Olentangy School District is or is not successful in providing your child with these skill sets on a daily basis. However, they will become a requirement in 2014-2015. This is a new vision for the state of Ohio. You cannot outsource creativity, you cannot digitize innovation, and you surely cannot automate collaboration on a daily basis that students need to demonstrate to be successful. We have to do more than what we're currently doing in the system because the current standards and tests do not adequately measure the knowledge or skills that our students will need to be successful within the workplace or world environment. How are we going to change? I talked about 2014, 2015. And I will tell you that the teachers and administrators, including everyone that's here this evening that works within the school district, know we're not waiting for 2014, 2015. We can't let kids keep basically performing at minimal competency levels. Although we're not going to measure them at a level for higher requirements to basically fulfill the OAA or the OGT prior to 2014-15, we do have a plan. Ohio is one of 44 states. We were 7th in the nation to adopt the Common Core standards that are nationally known for English language arts and mathematics. They were now being implemented within the state of Ohio, including within your school district, by your classroom teachers to prepare for the reality of 2014-15. We've asked schools throughout the state of Ohio to also look at science and social studies. Science and social studies are currently not national Common Core standards. However, Ohio has elected to upgrade our standards in science and social studies at the same time we've introduced English language arts and mathematics. These standards will provide a consistent, clear understanding of what students are expected to learn and how they will demonstrate that learning on the new assessments required in 2014-2015. The Ohio graduation test will disappear. We will no longer administer a minimal competency test to students presently seated in the middle school. If students are already enrolled in the high school, they will finish with the current system that is in place related to high-stakes graduation. The high-stakes graduation requirement is the OGT, as it currently is in place with each state. Your school district has mastered that skill quite readily, as I've shared with you. The new assessments that will come on in 2014 and 15 will be more robust. They'll have higher levels of standards and rigor required for students to demonstrate. We will no longer accept a 30% pass rate on any exam to label a student proficient. Your school district personnel have heard us tell them in several meetings throughout the state, as well as personally here in the school district, meeting with them, that the new rigor that will be required will be somewhere towards the accelerated and advanced level on the current assessment. We have to raise the bar for our students to be able to compete. And as we look forward, the new standards that will be put in place within Ohio will allow us to measure that and compare our success across the nation in English language arts and mathematics. And I will tell you, science is soon to follow suit. They're currently working on national standards for science, which in fact Ohio will adopt when and if they become available. How will we measure the change? There's going to be a shift in ultimately looking at the assessments. We will drift from paper pencil and make a shift to using technology. Think about the world that our students currently live within. From gaming to iPads to iPods to Game Boys to cell phones, think about the technology that our students have access to on a daily basis. I was in a preschool yesterday and the 3-year-olds are using iPads. What does that tell you? There's a shift in the reality of learning. We have to change how we assess student learning on a daily basis because you see it at home. We ask kids to come to school and unplug. It's crazy. We're doing something that's for the adults and not for the kids. Kids don't have to come to school unplugged. We need to teach them at school responsible use of technology. Let them have their technology, but learn how to utilize it and incorporate it into daily learning in a responsible way. Olentangy is further ahead in that conversation than most school districts that I have the opportunity to go and see. The higher expectations will be online, and it probably will incorporate technology that has yet to exist today. There's a big conversation going on, and I'm going to use third graders as an example. Keyboarding is no longer taught typically at school, particularly at the elementary level. So how will a student demonstrate in English language arts an extended response question that requires him or her to type or keyboard to answer the question? We are currently working through that issue, and there probably will be a transition in the first year for the pilot in 13-14, but it counts in 14-15. We will transition to come up with a solution. Why are we going automated? Because the reality of how it informs instruction daily within the classroom. Teachers currently know when you administer the OAA or the OGT, it takes 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the subject material, to get the results back on students. There's a delay. In the current reality that we're looking at for the new assessments and the prototypes that we have seen, we see responses on multiple choice and constructive response in 60 seconds. After the student signs off, the teacher gets an individualized report, the student gets an individualized report, and the parent gets an individualized report on his or her assessment results. The only thing that's taking up to 2 weeks is currently the extended response. When that's scaled up to the entire state of Ohio, we anticipate it to take up to 4 weeks just because of the number of students within our state. Why are we doing this? The reality is we shift to go to this reality currently. These are the current results throughout the state of Ohio related to the OAA and the OGT. And obviously you can guess that the Olentangy School District, and I did not put them up here, far exceed the current state norms related to the averages and aggregate for performance on the OAA and the OGT. Here's the shock value that most school districts react to. In our projections right now, we are going to tell you in the assessments that are envisioned 14, 15, and I will use third grade reading. The current passage rate is 80%. We are projecting the passage rate to be 35% on the new exam. There is increased rigor. We cannot lower the bar because of the reality of seeing there's going to be a dip. Think back 10 years ago when proficiency came to the state of Ohio. The first year it was introduced, 3 out of 4 students failed the math test. 2 out of 3 students failed the English language arts. What did we do after 2 years in Ohio? We changed the cut scores. We changed it to be 37% correct becomes proficient. We did a disservice to a generation of kids. This cannot continue. State Department of Education, the State Board of Education is challenging local school districts to be prepared, and we will give you permission to go out and have this conversation within your community. You should expect to see some type of a dip. Presently, with the Olentangy local schools, I discussed this when I met with the administration, in the school district, you have 30% ballpark numbers of students that do not score currently proficient on the OAA or the OPC, total in math within the school district. They have to become a conversation today because the reality is, when you see the new projections for those red bars, we are expecting a dip statewide. We need to prepare for the reality and give permission to the public to understand we need to let this happen. Why do we need to let this happen? Because in our estimation, our students will rise to meet the challenge. Go back 10 years. I'm going to use Massachusetts as an example to compare to Ohio. 10 years ago, Massachusetts introduced the same requirements that Ohio did. Ohio had a dip. There was public panic. There was public reaction. There was public pressure to the State Board of Education and the legislature that it's not acceptable for so many schools to look bad. Ohio changed its cut scores to make it look better and put in the 37%. Massachusetts did not. Massachusetts held strong. Massachusetts is currently number 1 in the nation on the nation's report card. They have the same standards we introduced 10 years ago that chose to change throughout the state of Ohio. That cannot happen again. We are now part of the national movement for the Common Core standards in English language arts and mathematics. We're updating science and social studies at the same time. Our children deserve no less. We have to stand strong. We have to demand that our students will be college and career ready and implement the higher expectations and take the realities that come with it. For 2 years in the state of Ohio, some school districts, and yours may not be one of them, truth be told, for all students, for some, but definitely not all, will challenge. Olentangy is in a unique place. I've been to lots of schools. I'm from the northeastern part of the state. I've spent the last 20 years there in a variety of school districts, from inner city to rural Appalachia, quote unquote. And I will tell you that what I see in your school district is really opportunity. You have a vision. Dr. Richard spoke about it. You have a vision currently that you know 2 out of 3 of your high school sophomores are college and career ready based upon minimal competency. There's a vision within your school district to push them to the next level, to guarantee that students who exit your school district benefit from international baccalaureate, advanced placement, and dual enrollment. You have colleges sitting on this stage tonight to talk about the vision that's possible where students can leave high school with a minimum of 1 year's worth of college credit. That is vision. And I will tell you, there are 613 other school districts in the state of Ohio that are public. There are 354 charter schools. There are 68 joint vocational schools that have not figured that out. You are less than 1% that's having this conversation throughout the state of Ohio. You have a lot to celebrate. But I will tell you, at the same time, you have a lot to look forward to with higher expectations. You have an outstanding faculty based upon the records that I have seen within your school district. They do well to challenge your children on a daily basis. But you cannot accept the mediocrity that is possible when the new rigor comes to place in 2014-15. Ohio will transition its accountability system. The current ratings that you have, excellent with distinction, and if you're at the other end, it's called academic diversity, most likely will disappear. We will go to a grading system for transparency within the state of Ohio. We will measure student performance in new ways. We will talk about gap closures in every school district. We talk about the students with the most highest achieving and where the gaps exist within the school district, if at all. We will have public transparency and public reporting K through 12 throughout the state. How are we going to do it? We have this thing called a waiver. Tom asked when he did the introduction, talked about No Child Left Behind. Back in 2001, when No Child Left Behind was created, there were minimal standards put in place for regulatory purposes to states. Ohio is now pushing for a flexibility waiver. We actually plan to apply on February 21st, later this month, to request flexibility related to the current regulatory provisions of No Child Left Behind, as Congress has yet to reauthorize it. As a result of that, we will move forward. Today's students in tomorrow's world, we cannot accept any longer that all students can come to school to learn. We have to expect that all students will learn on a daily basis, and I think Olentangy is well on its way to permit that to happen on a daily basis within your school district. If you want more information, my contact information is readily available on the State Department website. I actually do respond to email personally. I do call people back. It may take me 24 hours or so, but I guarantee you if you contact us, we will follow up. I thank you for your attention, and right now it is my pleasure to introduce your next presenter, Mary Beth Freeman from the Delaware Area Career Center. Mary Beth?
Thank you, Dr. Sawyers. I'm Mary Beth Freeman. I'm the superintendent at the Delaware Area Career Center, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you some information about the Career Center. But in addition to being employed by the Career Center, I'm also, like you, I'm a homeowner in the Olentangy district. I am concerned, like you, that we maintain strong educational opportunities for our students. And through my presentation tonight, I want to show you that the Delaware Area Career Center is one of those opportunities. As Dr. Sawyer showed the technology of the phones, I thought about career tech, what used to be vocational education, and how it has evolved over the years. It has always been charged to prepare for the workforce, but as he explained in his presentation, that workforce has changed. Therefore, what we do and what kids come out of the Career Center with has also changed. Three questions I hope to answer tonight for you when you leave is that, what is college and career readiness? We talk a lot about those terms, but what does that mean? What is being said about the workforce of the future? Because that is what we are preparing students for. And how is the Delaware Area Career Center serving the Olentangy community and preparing the students to be college and career ready? I want to help dispel the myth that students who go to the Career Center can't go to college. For some information, I've gone out and I've looked at the Achieve organization, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Skills Gap document. One item that I've used quite extensively as I talk to you tonight is going to be the Harvard study, Pathways to Prosperity, and the ACT's College Readiness System. College readiness is pretty easy. It means remediation-free in the academic courses, going to post-secondary schools without having to take remedial courses with developmental ed. And when they talk about post-secondary, they talk about not just 2- and 4-year schools, but they talk about trade schools, technical schools, and including military and apprenticeship. So academics are important for these other schools just as it is for the 2- and 4-year schools. So what is career readiness? This is what's really changed over the years. First of all, career readiness means you are college ready. So if our role at the Career Center is to prepare kids to be career ready, we have to prepare them to also be college ready. It's also preparing them with the technical skills that they need for that particular industry. No longer is a high school diploma enough to be career ready. Within those careers and those technical skills, we have to prepare students for jobs that provide a family sustainable wage, provide for career advancement, and for projected growth in the next 5 to 10 years. We also, just like Olentangy, prepare students for problem-solving skills. In the ACT, meeting the challenges of a changing world, it says not every student is going to college, but every student needs to have the equivalent of 1 year of college in order to secure a job that pays a sustaining wage. And as I will show you, that 1 year is equivalent to an industry or business credential. So when we talk college and career ready, all students, including those attending the Delaware Area Career Center, are expected to leave college and career ready. One of our requirements in Career Tech is that we do a 1 year follow-up of our students and what they're doing. Over 50% of our students are enrolled in post-secondary educational opportunities 1 year out. Some interesting pieces of information as we prepare for that workforce and what our programs need to look like. But of the 14 million projected job openings, nearly half of those that will be held by someone with post-secondary education will go to someone with an associate's degree or an occupational certificate. Many of our programs provide those industry credentials. It goes on to say that many of these middle-skilled occupations pay more than many of the jobs held by those with a bachelor's degree. And of those who hold post-secondary licenses or certificates, and that they do not have an associate's degree, 27% earn more than the person who has a bachelor's degree. Therefore, they are able to provide a sustainable wage for their families. The workforce needs, the demand for middle-skilled jobs is exploding. 45% of our jobs are middle-skilled jobs. They require some type of credential and some type of college and possibly a degree. They also go on to say that the focus on college alone does not equip people with all the skills and abilities they'll need in the workforce. College for all does not necessarily mean a bachelor's degree. Even in this decade, most jobs do not require the bachelor's. As we said, 45% are in that middle-skilled job. The 36%, those are not jobs for which we are preparing. Those are the jobs that maybe in most cases probably do not provide a sustainable wage. We're preparing for the jobs in the 30%, some college and associates, and the 33%. What I find interesting is that the U.S. is going to make dramatic progress in reclaiming its leadership in terms of its post-secondary attainment. What is interesting is it requires more attention and resources on programs and pathways that do not require a bachelor's degree, but do prepare for middle-skilled jobs. Oftentimes we have students coming to the Career Center that they come with the idea of getting their credential and going into the workforce, and once they get there, they determine that the post-secondary route is a good route for them. Our students do come and they are able to take the dual enrollment classes in both Career Tech and academics so that they're well prepared. Some student success stories, and when you came in tonight, you should have received a page that on both sides just highlights several of our past graduates that gives you information about what they've done. In addition to those particular students, a year ago we had a culinary arts student. He competed in Pittsburgh for National Teen Chef, and he won National Teen Chef of the Year. He was also given over $25,000 in scholarships to attend the Pittsburgh School for the Arts. Because of the academic dual enrollment classes that he was taking at the Career Center, along with his career technical dual enrollment classes getting college credit, he started out the year advanced over his cohort group. Therefore, they were sending him to Italy for 1 semester to study under chefs in Italy while the other students caught up. You're an Olentangy Liberty student who's a senior this year, Tara Holman. Last year as a junior, won first class first place in National Skills USA in an applied physics course. Programs that we have, some of the traditional ones, but they're not traditional delivery, would be our auto tech, construction, welding, etc. One thing about the textbooks, an auto tech textbook has now been shown to have the highest reading level of any academic book. It's higher than a senior year college prep textbook. And that's because of all the technical terms and the changes. And if you think about your cars over the last several years, how many changes have happened as we go to smart cars, if you will. And I think about it, and who do I want looking under the hood or fixing my car? And I want to make it sure it's somebody that can read those textbooks or those tech manuals. We also have programs in the areas of health tech, IT Academy, the Zoo School, which is a partnership with the Columbus Zoo. Some new programs that are being offered next year on our South Campus is a bioscience program. We have been partnering with Olentangy, Columbus State, and Ohio State to work on an engineering program, and we are in development of a health informatics program. Our positive post-program placement, which includes students that are enrolled in post-secondary experiences, they are employed in a career of the pathway in which they went through the Career Center, or they are in the military. And actually the 2011 data that was collected in 2011 is the 2010 graduates. But what you can see is that we are consistently at 90% or above in our positive post-program placement. Last year was the first year they collected data on the students who are earning credit in their career technical, who are earning college credit in their career technical courses. Last year, just under 80% of our students for their career technical courses earned college credit. That does not include the academic dual enrollment. Our performance indicators are in the process of being changed, but there are 4 areas that we are, like your report card, that the Career Centers are judged on. And they look at the credentials, the certification, and the technical skill outcomes. They're also looking at their academic achievement. One of the things that they're actually proposing is that our students will be required to take the Compass test when they come in and when they leave as an exit. The graduation rate and the positive post-program placement. So how can the Delaware Area Career Center support Olentangy? All of our programs deliver career technical, 21st century, and academic skills. We prepare our students to be college and career ready with those skills, including the dual enrollment opportunities. Again, they can earn college credit for both career tech and academics. We prepare them with industry credentials, and we measure our outcomes with a college entrance exam and industry-based assessment. If you would like more information, you may contact our enrollment coordinator, Lisa Marie Reinhardt, at the information above. I also have business cards for Lisa Marie, and if you're interested, I can give those to you afterwards. Appreciate the opportunity to share with you about the Career Center. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Melissa Conrad.
Well, good evening, and along with the others, I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this evening's conversation. It's a very important purpose that we've gathered here this evening for, and that is how we can best prepare students for higher education as well as increase access to those opportunities. I'm here speaking on behalf of the president of Otterbein University, Kathy Crindle. She unfortunately could not be here this evening as she is in Japan. But she asked me to join you. I have been at Otterbein now 2 weeks and just wrapped up a career, 37 years in K-12 education. I was superintendent district, a little district just south of you. And but I wanted to mention that because of the fact that 37 years I started my career in Olentangy. I was a student teacher in the early 70s. And coming back, I must say that a few things have changed since that time. So. I'd like to share some information here as it relates to the topic this evening. These were 2 statements that came out of the President's State of the Union address that was given a year ago. and that is that over the next 10 years, half of the new jobs that will be created will require a college education. And also, he mentioned that America has fallen to ninth in the proportion of countries, young people with college degrees. And it's interesting to note, I had seen some statistics about one of our global competitors, China. In 1990, 2% of the population in China was going on to college. And the government there set a goal that by the year 2020, 20% of the population would do so. And data suggests that they are well on their way right now. About 13% of people in that country go on to post-secondary training, and at the rate and the size of that country, they are well on their way to being the world producers of college graduates. So if we're going to remain competitive as a country, we're going to have to make sure that we provide opportunities for access and success in higher education. In the past, I think our challenge had more to do with getting into college, but today really our challenge is getting students ready for college and then getting them to complete that experience. And in order to do this, we need to do a number of things. Certainly we need to increase access to higher education by creating more opportunities for students that have not graduated yet from college. And I certainly applaud your school district for their vision in blending that transition, or actually hopefully eliminating that tradition between high school and college. And we have to make sure that college remains affordable. And one way that we can do that is to expedite the time that it takes to complete a college degree. And we also have to assure attainment. We have to make sure that students stay in school and that they're successful in order to earn that degree. And as we examine the data on higher education in terms of graduation rates, it looks as if we have some work to do in that area. If you look at the comparison between public and private institutions, graduation rates after 4 years from public institutions, approximately 32% have earned their degree. After 6 years, that has gone up. Many people do not go full-time and complete it in what we think of as a traditional 4-year experience. It takes a little bit longer than that, but it's risen to 56%. Private institutions, the statistics are just a little bit better, but still, after 4 years, only 52% have earned a degree, and yet after 6 years, that has risen to 64%. So again, we have to make sure that we partner together and that we optimize the resources that we have so that we make sure that as many students as can be successful have access to and succeed in college. So at Otterbein, when we think of the concept of college readiness, how we play a role in that and serve as a partner, we like to focus on how we can prepare, work with institutions in our broader school community to help prepare students for college, how to expedite that time that it takes for students to get through, how can we create opportunities to expedite that, and then to make sure that our students are successful. And with respect to preparation for college, I'm sure that this is not unfamiliar to all of you. We believe that this is the absolute minimum for students to have completed prior to entering into college. The standard recommended college preparatory curriculum. It really is basic to succeed and also to minimize the need for remediation, which certainly takes time and it takes students. But we also believe that to adequately prepare, you need more than that. What we recommend is that students participate in some form of an early college experience before they graduate from high school. Not only does it expedite the time that it takes to earn a college degree because they're still in high school, simultaneously earning high school and college credit, it also helps students understand the rigors of higher education so that when they do matriculate, greater probability of success. And we actually have some data that points to this and suggests that these experiences are indeed related to student success. So looking at some of the data that we have on student retention, we notice that there's some differences between students that enter Otterbein University and have completed previous experience. looking at those students who enter in and then continue on through their sophomore year. Those students who come to Otterbein already having earned credit, college credit through advanced placement. 87% of those students are still enrolled as of their sophomore year. Those that enter with PSEO, post-secondary enrollment option credit, 79%. Students that have completed the International Baccalaureate diploma, 92%, and those that have a combination of those experience, 90% of those students persist into their sophomore year. Also looking at previous credit and how quickly they graduate, looking at those students who stay at the university, earn a degree at the university, how long does it take them to graduate? And again, 80% of the students that enter Otterbein with some form of post-secondary experience and stay at Otterbein to complete their degree, 80% of those have graduated within 4 years. Of those that enter with International Baccalaureate credit, 100% of those who enter Otterbein, complete the degree there, have graduated within 4 years. And in some cases, some graduate early. Looking at those who either have not or have earned credit at high school through some pre-freshman experience, less than 1% of them graduate in 3 years. But looking at those that enter in with advanced placement, post-secondary, or international baccalaureate, you see the numbers increase, with as many as almost 70% of our students who come to the university having participated in an international baccalaureate program graduate in 3 years. So again, we seem to have data that suggests that those students who take advantage of access to higher education opportunities while still in high school will be more likely to graduate and will be more likely to graduate on time or early. So with respect to some of the opportunities that we provide students, some of those opportunities are ones where students can remain at their home high school and earn credit there. We certainly do accept AP credit. Depending upon the score of the students, they earn credit. Students that participate in an international baccalaureate program while still in high school, we recognize that credit and they earn credit for courses at the university. If they completely go through and earn the International Baccalaureate diploma, they will have earned sufficient credit to be one course short of entering in as a sophomore. And in addition to that, we give a $7,000 scholarship to those students. So you can see, in terms of time and financial resources, there's certainly benefit to that type of participation. As a private institution, we are exempt from post-secondary enrollment. However, we do recognize PSEO credit that students would earn while they're in high school if they've earned that credit as they've gone through, as they partner with some of the public institutions. We do have articulation agreements, 2+2 programs, so that if a student, as a high school student, would go to an institution, earn credit, and then go on to that public institution, they can then transfer to Otterbein and know before they transfer that they can complete their degree in 2 years. So we do have a number of partnerships with other institutions to facilitate the articulation between those two programs for our students. We also participate, we have several students every year that participate in the senior to sophomore program, and that's a program where students elect to take their senior year in high school and enroll full-time at an institution of higher education, and they earn a year of credit while they're there. And so we do participate in that. I mentioned that since we are a private institution, we do not participate as the public institutions do in post-secondary enrollment options, so we developed our own program, and we refer to it as a early freshman experience program. And it's a partnership that grew out of conversations that we have had with some area school districts. But it's a program very similar to PSEO, and it's open to any student who's a junior or a senior that has a 3.0 or higher. And they can participate in any course that the university offers as long as they've met the prerequisite for that course. And we offer that course at a significantly discounted tuition. tuition rate. If the student wants to use that college experience, that college course credit at their home high school, they can certainly do so with the cooperation of their home school through credit flexibility. Another partnership that we have formed with some area school districts, trying to look at some creative ways of strengthening our partnership with K-12 education. We currently have a neighboring school district where we have a faculty member, a tenured faculty member, that goes to that school district, to the high school, and teaches an advanced calculus class. We are also looking at expanding that to foreign languages, Chinese, Arabic, and possibly some business and music theory courses. And again, we're very open to that. We're very interested in those types of things if we have interest in the student population at the high school. Some of these courses that exist right now through the Freshman Early Experience Program, we do have students from Olentangy schools that are participating, and we are very interested in expanding our reach and partnering with other institutions. And finally, another partnership opportunity that we offer, we have a number of summer classes that are designed specifically for high school students after their junior year, and they're offered by our faculty members in the summer. We try to look at courses in the core academic content areas, but with an integrated approach. Last year, we offered a course called Obedience and Resistance to Cultural Authority, a topic that you could well imagine would appeal to high school students. But it was a writing course that also analyzed literary text and included quite a bit of very lively discussion. So we're exploring the possibility of offering that to high school students again this year, and again at a very significant discounted tuition rate. We offer summer activities. We're the site of the Martin Essex program for the gifted and talented. We offer summer camps to high school students. We have an equine science camp, dance theater program, science camp, leadership camp. And although these camps do not offer high school high school credit or college credit, it does provide students an opportunity to be exposed to some of the rigors and life at higher ed institutions. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening, share a little bit of some of the data that we have about the impact of early college experience on the success of students when they go on to college, and also to share some of the programs that we have at Otterbein. And we're in conversations with our partners, K-12 partners, to look at ways that we can continue to expand those and meet the needs of the high school population here in our broader community. So thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Rebecca Eckstein from Ohio University, my alma mater. Or Ohio, what did I say? Ohio Wesleyan University. I forgot. Right?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm Rebecca Eckstein. I'm the Vice President of Enrollment at Ohio Wesleyan University. And I'd like to begin by letting you know that I have two sons. One is off the payroll, which is what parents want. The other one just graduated in December, and I tell you that for a couple of reasons. This is a survivable process for parents. I like to equate it to the new movie Mission Impossible. There'll be times when you feel like all of your support systems have defected on you and you don't have a plan or any contacts, but you will get through this. My youngest son took IB credits in high school. He didn't have to leave his high school. They were taught by his high school professors. And we paid a nominal amount for those. He entered college with 32 credit hours. So he entered as a sophomore. He didn't realize that at the time until they actually told him that he was a sophomore. So I can't emphasize enough that dual enrollment credits are really, really important. Tonight I want to talk about two things, college readiness and career readiness. And because we're the opposite of ordinary, I might talk more about career after college, just because I want to let you realize what your sons and daughters can do with their education once they complete college. First off, it is a partnership between the high schools, Olentangy, and the colleges, and we're beginning a partnership with Columbus State. So I want to emphasize that as well. We accept transfer students. So your students can come to Ohio Wesleyan with credits, IB or AP credits, and they can stay 3 years or 4 years. They always graduate in 4 years, but if they come in with credits, there is the possibility of graduating in 3. If they go to Columbus State first, they might graduate in 2 after they finish their associate's degree at Columbus State. And it is a partnership, and I can't emphasize that enough, between both Olentangy and you. And we want to emphasize that partnership. I'm brand new at Ohio Wesleyan. I've been there since July, so I'm really excited about continuing this partnership. We've also found out at Ohio Wesleyan that we have to optimize the education, and we do that 2 ways, through continuous learning and through global learning. Because we found that the jobs of tomorrow are not going to be the jobs of today. A lot of these jobs are changing rapidly. And someone mentioned technology earlier, and you know there's a lot of technology that you have had to learn just in the last few years. It's changing rapidly, and it will change again before your sons and daughters graduate from college. As far as preparation goes, we certainly like to see advanced students. We take a holistic review on the application. We like to see at least an ACT score of a 25 and a GPA of 3.6. But more importantly, we like to see AP credits, or we like to see IB dual enrollment credits. A couple of things that we offer high school classes for high school students, so they can come to our campus and take high school classes on our campus. We're 10 minutes from here, so I urge you to think about that when you're trying to get those credits that you need. We also offer camps. One camp that we offer in the summertime is our OWL camp. Students can come to campus, they live on campus for a week, they get to get acclimated to the dorms, and this is really, really important because part of college readiness is feeling comfortable in your environment so that you can learn. So they need to come to campus, they need to visit, they need to spend the night, they need to eat the food, and they need to socialize, because someone else mentioned that the social part of college is very, very important. A lot of your students are college ready right now academically, but socially they need to be ready for college, and that's very important. We offer a liberal arts degree, and a lot of you may not realize what that is, but I want to tell you briefly what it means. It means that we're going to teach your son or daughter how to speak articulately, how to write, how to think clearly, how to critically analyze a solution to a problem and be able to present it. They're also going to learn about the past, history, because that teaches us what may come again, because history, we know, repeats itself. And we're also going to teach them how to learn and study culturally in a global world, because our world is changing. The world of today is not the day that they will have when they graduate. We need them to learn how to study globally. We offer 93 majors and pre-professional programs, so just about anything your son or daughter might need, we offer at Ohio Wesleyan, and we offer a 3-2 engineering program with Caltech. In addition, we have a Sagan Resource Center for students who need additional assistance with writing or math, or maybe just figuring out how to formulate that paper. They can come to our Sagan Resource Center and we can help them with that. We also have 4 different START sessions each summer. And what START is an orientation session where they actually get to sit down with their advisor and learn what they need to take and formulate a plan. So it's not like Mission Impossible. They can actually structure their entire college time at Ohio Wesleyan with an advisor one-on-one. And how will your son or daughter change the world? There are 4 components at Ohio Wesleyan that we have found that are the components that they need to make it in the outside world. One is undergraduate research. Secondly, we want them to travel. It can be a mission trip or it can just be travel learning. And we want them to participate in community service. Last year, our students participated in over 48,000 hours of community service. And we call this TIPIT. This entire travel learning program is called TIPIT. And this is what makes students successful. 95% of our students, when they graduate, are in grad school or they have their career position. And this is really, really important because how many of you know a college graduate right now that's unemployed? That's not what you want for your son or daughter. TIPIT stands for Theory into Practice into Theory. And what that means is they will learn their theoretical perspectives in the classroom, they will go out and practice it in the field, and then they will bring it back into the classroom and kind of share it with the rest of their classmates. Examples of some of the travel learning components that we've had over the last couple of semesters, we usually offer 14 or 15 each semester, and they vary. They could be anything from studying climate glaciers in Alaska to studying tectonics and geothermal resources in Iceland. They could be building a library in a Haitian orphanage, or they could just be studying primates in Oregon, or maybe they'll have an internship with someone at the Columbus Zoo. So there are lots of different activities that they can participate in, and this practice is the important component, because when they graduate and they go on the job interview, they'll be able to say that they have done it. They won't just be like every other graduate. And that's why we call ourselves the opposite of ordinary, because we believe that our students do get a job after college, and that's the important thing. In addition to travel learning, some of them don't want to travel. Some of them may want to just go and do our Wesleyan and Washington program. Or some of them may participate in our Philadelphia Center. We have 800 different internships in Philadelphia. And again, this gets them out and about and in a work setting so that they feel comfortable. So when they graduate, they're ready for that first job. We also have a New York Arts program for our artists, where they can go and study in New York in a brownstone with 40 other students. And it can be anything from theater to journalism to painting to drawing to sculpture. Any of those art activities they can participate in. Also, our students are engaged. They're engaged in community service, like I mentioned before, and travel learning, but they're also engaged in athletics. And we feel that that gives them another competitive aspect and a social engagement at the college. Students who participate in athletics are retained at a much higher rate, and retention is something that you want to be concerned about. Our retention from freshman to sophomore year is in the mid-80s. So usually when a student comes to Ohio Wesleyan, they end up graduating, and they graduate well. The other component, I always tell my parents, you need to think about a few things. You need to think about the opportunities where your son or daughter will go. You need to think about value, and you need to think about outcomes. So value is another very, very important component that was mentioned. Affordability, for instance. We are living in very tough global times. It's not the world that we lived in 4 or 5 years ago. We're all concerned about, how we're going to pay that next tuition bill. So there are some things that you want to know. First off, you want to make sure that you fill out the FAFSA, but you also want to go to a school that you know is going to sit down and work with you and come up with a plan and schedule what you're going to owe so that there aren't big surprises along the way. And like I mentioned, going to Columbus State for 2 years can save you an inordinate amount of money. Taking IB dual enrollment credits at your high school can save you money. So there are lots of ways to make this happen. Ohio Wesleyan offers an average aid package of about $30,000. Most of our parents think that private college is not affordable, and in fact, it really quite is. We offer $35 million each year, and our students graduate in 4 years. A word about debt. I want to mention really, really quick, just because parents they're so worried about loans right now, and the media doesn't help much. But it's not the loan that you take, it's how much you take. And you want to make sure that at the end of the career, your son or daughter has enough money in their career to pay back the loan. I talk to parents and students all the time. Students are ready to go out and buy that car as soon as they graduate, and they're willing to spend $300 or $400 on that car payment. But if you mention to them they may have a student loan that's going to be $200, they get all upset. But that car, it can be stolen, it can break down, it may not last forever. Their education in themselves will last forever. No one can ever take it away from them. So that's an investment in their future, and they need to think about it that way. Another thing that you want to look at is payscale.com. It ranks all of the colleges and how much money they will make when they graduate. We're ranked really high, and I think there's some other schools in Ohio that are ranked high as well. But this is an important component when you're thinking about debt and what you want to take on in the process. And then, of course, the last thing is the outcome. You want to graduate and go to a school where you know that you will have the outcome that you planned. You want to be able to fulfill your dreams. We are a college that changes lives, and literally that means we do change lives every day at our college. So it's something that you want to think about. And I would urge you to visit your college and visit often. Like I said, we're 10 minutes up the road. I'm willing to sit down and talk to anybody about their career plan. I can look at your transcripts, I can look at your IB credits, I can set you up with an appointment with the registrar's office so that you know going in if what you're taking is actually going to be a transferable credit. We're there to help you, and we want to help you all we can. I have business cards too, so if anyone's interested in my business cards, I'll have them after the session. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Angelo Froley and Karen Gray from Columbus State.
Good evening, everyone. Karen Gray and I are really happy to be able to speak with you this evening. One of the things that I would tell you is that about 7 months ago, they asked me to come to Delaware to become dean for the Delaware campus. And shortly thereafter, I had lunch with Dr. Wade Lucas. And his idea to me was, how do we make sure that individuals have a year of college before they leave Olentangy High School? That initiative, that vision is now a reality. And we're going to talk to you tonight about that reality. It's a long time coming that basically our high school folks will have an opportunity now to graduate with 1 year of transcripted credit, where they can now move forward, whether it's a Columbus State or any of the other articulated organizations that we have. About a year ago, I met in a room similar to this with 3 major industries of Central Ohio. They were the manufacturing industry, the logistics industry, and the health industry. We asked them a very simple question. What do you want to see in individuals that you will be hiring in the next 5 to 6 years? And the answer is what you see on the screen. They want to see people that are highly competitive. They want to see folks that understand and will be able to work in global markets. They want somebody who's not just going to take this position and stay with it. They want people who will continue to learn and help move their organization forward. Communication, both oral and written. How to work with teams. Not all of us get along all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be a team player. Problem solving, decision making, and how to understand what a company goes through in terms of its financials so they can help move the company forward. So that leads me to the question of how does Columbus State's Community College and the Olentangy School District basically partner to benefit our students. This is a schematic of the way high schools and colleges used to work. This is no longer going to be the case. If you notice, there is an artificial wall between high schools and colleges. In this case, it's Columbus State. Person comes out of a high school, they take assessment, whether it's SAT or Compass, and if they don't pass it, they end up in developmental education. If they do, that's fine, they go on to the pathway degree. What we have been finding is that most or a number of students always have an issue with regards to learning in the math area or an English area or a reading area. I think some of our speakers alluded to that earlier this evening. So one of the things we've done is we've changed the paradigm. We've moved that artificial wall between the high school and Columbus State and moved it on the other side. And we now are in the process of working with all superintendents in Central Ohio to make sure that folks coming out of high school are college ready. Many things in that way, many things we have done. Purposely trying to work with counselors at the high schools with regards to advisors at Columbus State. About 3 months ago, we had a meeting with the counselors here in Delaware from the various Delaware high schools and also with our Columbus State advisors. And we talked about what counselors say and do in the high schools versus what advisors do and say in the colleges. And we tried to formulate more of a routine story of how they would get the same story moving forward. And we're going to continue to do that. So one of the things we were trying to do is blend the high school college offerings for career success, basically for lifelong learning. To do that, there are very many learning techniques, and to mention a few of them, and you've heard them already this evening: dual enrollment, advanced placement, early college, and the International Baccalaureate. My colleague Karen Gray is now going to talk to you about these, and in particular, how these programs, specifically for Columbus State, can help you have your son or your daughter get through high school with a college degree, and then go forward and maybe even keep a few bucks in your pocket. Okay?
Good evening, everyone. You can sigh a big sigh of relief. The last speaker is up. Thank you for your patience, and it really is just a huge statement that you're making about your community and how you feel about education by being here this evening. So thank you so very much. As Angelo mentioned, there are several different types of early college initiatives. And we do have this chart that I realize is probably too small for most folks to read. But it goes through and it talks about the differences with dual enrollment, advanced placement, PSEO, and the IB program. I'm going to focus my comments real quick on dual enrollment, advanced placement, and the PSEO. PSEO is where your student would travel to a local college or university and take a class on campus. It's a great program because typically a student will only take 1 or 2 classes. It gives them a taste of what is college life going to be like. For your advanced students, this is confirmation that they're headed in the right direction. For the middle-of-the-road students who aren't quite sure that they're college material, they can go and take a class and build confidence, but still have the supports of high school there in place. One of the drawbacks of the PSEO program is the time that it takes to travel to a college or university to take that class. And for our students who live in rural areas, it simply isn't an option because there's not a school close enough to them in which they could travel back and forth. The AP program, I think everyone is very familiar with. Olentangy has a huge participation rate. It's a fantastic program. There's really no drawbacks to it. Some students become very anxious because there is the exam that's taken in the springtime. And if your student does suffer from test anxiety, this can be a really difficult challenge for them. But it is a quality program that does offer early credit opportunities. Dual enrollment is what I'm going to focus my comments on because a lot of folks are unfamiliar with dual enrollment. Dual enrollment has been around for over 30 years. If you travel west of the Mississippi, you'll see that they have advanced program options in place. We're a little behind the times. We do have a statewide organization called the Ohio Alliance of Dual Enrollment Programs. It is becoming more of the conversation that is taking place here in Ohio. So what dual enrollment does is it takes the college course and it takes it to the high school. So that class is taught by a qualified, trained high school teacher who meets the same hiring criteria as an adjunct faculty member from the sponsoring college or university. It's offered at a reduced cost. Columbus State is still working out the cost model for our dual enrollment program, but we want it to be a cost neutral, meaning we wouldn't make any money off of it, but it would cover just the cost of administering that program. And that chart talks a little bit about all the various similarities and differences throughout all of those programs. We've talked a little bit about the various programs that there are. I want to point out that with our dual enrollment programmings, all of these courses will fit into the Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, or the Career and Technical programs. So here's a fun little so what. Why is this important to you? And everyone's touched on it a little bit, but I put together just a quick little example to give you an idea of what are the cost and time savings associated with early college opportunities. If we would take a look at the 4-year tuition only at Ohio State University, this is their current tuition for 4 years. It is, we did not do calculations on net present value. We did not calculate inflation rates. It does not include lab fees or books or room and board. This is tuition only. It would be $45,000. If you look at our Preferred Pathways program, that's where you spend 2 years at Columbus State and then your last 2 years at OSU. You can see that you have almost over a 40% reduction in your total tuition cost. You would be spending about $6,000 in tuition at Columbus State for 2 years, and then your last 2 years at OSU at $22,500. Now, add into it the layer that the Olentangy students have the opportunity to earn 1 year of college credit while still in high school at a drastically reduced rate. If you took an entire year with the rate that we're projecting for Columbus State, an entire year's worth of college credit is $850. That's amazing. You add it to, you'd still have, if you wanted to continue on at Columbus State, $3,000 in tuition, and you would still finish out your final 2 years at OSU. So you've gone from a 4-year OSU degree, which would cost you tuition only $45,000, and you've reduced that cost to $26,350. We work hand in hand with OSU, so our curriculums line up perfectly. And you can see my very scientific equation at the bottom of the slide. You're saving money, you're saving time, and for those families that do it, look how happy they are with their child. I just use OSU as an example because it was quick and easy. We have hundreds of articulation agreements with public schools, with private schools. So no matter where your student is interested in going, we can greatly reduce the cost and start to build their college experience here while they're still in high school, and they have all the wonderful supports in place. It does save them time, and it will save you money. But the bottom line is we are all dedicated to student success. Thank you very much for your time, and I believe we're turning it back over to Tom for moderation. Thank you.